A crackhead asked me a question when I was 19 years old that changed the trajectory of my entire life. The crazy part, I didn't even understand the question then. Matter of fact, I honestly thought he was being disrespectful. Picture this. Peoria, Illinois. I'm in the delayed entry program waiting to go to boot camp. 1 foot still in the neighborhood and 1 foot trying to step into a future that I couldn't see yet. I'm sitting in my auntie's kitchen when a family friend leans over and whispers something that catches me completely off guard. He says, "Hey, why you hang with these niggas?" Now, hold on. Before y'all start clutching your pearls and typing in the comments, that's exactly what I said. What? These my cousins, my family, my people. You know what I'm saying? But what sounded like disrespect in the moment turned out to be one of the most profound pieces of advice that I have ever received. The lesson this man gave me wasn't about abandoning people. It was about recognizing the difference between loving people and letting them determine your direction. Because growth often begins the moment somebody forces you to question what you've normalized. And if you remember nothing else from this story, remember this. The people you love can still be the people you need to distance from. At 19, I thought he was talking about my cousins. At 45, I realized he was talking about a mindset. All right, so Pete, I live in Peoria, Illinois. At this time, like I said, I'm waiting to go to boot camp. You know what I'm saying? I really wanted to go immediately, but unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. So, you know, kind of hanging out with family, not really doing too much, not going too many places, just because I don't want to get in any kind of trouble before it's time for me to leave. I'm kind of, you know, trying to stay low key. And so I'm down here at my auntie house. They live on a cross street. So if I live on the main street, they live on a cross street, and they live about 5 blocks down that cross street. And so I didn't spend a lot of time there. You know, and so these are the people I choose to be around or hang with at this time, you know, while I'm waiting. And there is a particular cousin that's there who dibbled and dabbled in street pharmaceuticals, right? And he, there is a family friend there at my auntie house who partakes in those particular pharmaceuticals. And for whatever reason, while I'm there, he specifically, you know, makes it a point to like, and the only reason I know is because somebody else says something about it, because he doesn't say anything like out loud. He doesn't make a show of it, but essentially he refused to buy or to use the said pharmaceuticals in front of me, like for whatever reason, and he just refused to do it. And I'm thinking like, oh, okay. So, you know, apparently I was a designated innocent person in this house full of, you know, heathens or whatever. Again, I didn't understand. But the reason I found out was because my cousin, my younger cousin, he was very offended. He was like, wait, you know, like, why is it okay for you to do all this around us, but you won't do it around him? Like, what is that about? You know? And so I was like, honestly, again, I'm 19 years old, man. I don't know. I don't know what his thought process is. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, they go down to the basement. They make whatever transaction is supposed to happen. It happens. I'm not part of it. I'm left, in the kitchen by myself. Cause it was probably like 5, 6 of us there. And so I'm left, everybody else goes downstairs in the basement. I'm left to my own devices, just kind of sitting in the kitchen at the table, and I'm just kind of waiting on whatever's going to happen, whenever anybody's going to get there, get back upstairs. So I'm just kind of chilling. Well, somehow, eventually, the transaction happens, whatever else happens. Again, I don't know. I didn't see it. And I end up at the kitchen table with just the family friend, right? And the family friend is saying like, you know, um, just kind of chilling with me or whatever. And then out of the blue, just for whatever reason, he kind of leaned in and he whispered to me and he said, "Hey, why you hang with these niggas?" And I paused and I was like, "Yo, what?" I was like, I'm confused. Like, you know what I'm saying? What you mean?" And he's like, "You know exactly what I mean. Why you hang with these niggas?" And I was like, "Yo," I'm like, I'm like, "What, you mean my family?" I'm like, this my people. This my, these my cousins. This my family, whatever. And you know what I'm saying? I was like, "Yo, that's crazy." And he said, Yeah. I ain't trying to hit none of that. So he repeated it again. "Why do you hang with these niggas?" And I was like, at that point, honestly, I didn't have an answer. I didn't have because he wasn't accepting that because they were my family. He wasn't accepting none of those answers. And then he said to me, "You're not like them. Your life is not headed where theirs is headed. So why do you hang with them? Why do you spend your time with them?" And honestly, I didn't have an answer. I didn't, so I just kind of sat there with it, just kind of soaked it in. And yeah, at the time, I didn't think nothing else of that statement. I just kind of moved on. But then I realized it's not the wisdom of a pastor. You know what I'm saying? This is the revelation of somebody who is a user, who has seen life and who has experienced life. And obviously his life has been whatever it's been. He's way older than I am, probably by like 30 years. So whatever decisions he's made, he has seen enough in his life that by the time I'm 19, sitting across that table from him, he understands what decisions and who you spend your time with tend to, affect your world, right? And so, obviously over the years, I I joined the Navy eventually. Never really went back home. I probably would go home once a year. And honestly, at first I used to go see them all the time. I would still go see my auntie and them. I would still go back to the same places. I would still be around the same people. And matter of fact, I posted a video before about, about catching a gun charge because I'm not necessarily doing the right thing that I was supposed to be doing, but additionally, these very people that, the very family members that he was trying to get me to stay away from and not spend time with, ultimately their situations that they had spilled over and, created this scenario where police asked me to get out the car and the gun and the whole nine, but neither here nor there. But I ultimately, as I got older, I spent less and less time. Definitely have my list of people back home that I'm like, I have to see these people. And then there's the people that it's like, if I see you, I'm gonna see you in passing, but I'm not spending a whole lot of time around you or with you. And it's not because I don't love those family members. It's just because I realize as I get older, I am creating a life that I don't want to lose. Right. And so because I don't want to lose that life, I don't want to lose, the world that I've created for myself outside of my hometown. I want to keep that. I want to hold on to that. And it's learning that like some things, it's just familiar. It's not necessarily formative. It's not necessarily, something that I want to be around. It also helped me as I went through the military. There's not a lot of people that I spent time with because it was just, nah, I'm good. I'll roll by myself. Or if I do go, I'm going to drive my own car. I'm going to get there myself. And I realized something. I realized that the niggas wasn't just about, black men or black people in general. It was the mindsets. It was the mindsets of that environment. It's the chaos. It's the cynicism. It's the self-sabotage, the small thinking, people being committed to keeping you where they met you. You know what I mean? And that's happened to me recently. I done went back at 40 something years old and I've had family members talk to me as if I'm still that 19-year-old from there. And it's like all this life I've lived outside of that environment and outside of that space. They don't even know that version of me. They don't even know the version of me that isn't from there. They still speak to me as if I'm that young kid that is just leaving Peoria and you just haven't seen me in like a month or two, as opposed to it's been, like I said, it's almost 30 something years. It feel like it probably not that. No, it's getting close. It's getting close. It's not exactly there, but we're really close to it. All right. So with all that being said, lesson number 1, wisdom does not always wear a suit. Sometimes it comes from broken vessels. Lesson number 2, pay attention when someone sees something in you, especially before you see it. Lesson number 3, familiarity can hide bad influence. Just because it's family or lifelong friends doesn't make it healthy. Number 4, separation is often spiritual before it is physical. You leave mentally before you leave geographically. And number 5, protect your trajectory. Everybody can't go where you're going. So here's the moral of the story. Sometimes the question that offends you today becomes the wisdom that saves you tomorrow. And if the people around you can't recognize your future, eventually you will have to. With that being said, has somebody ever asked you a question that changed your life? Or have you ever had to distance yourself from people you love to protect who you are becoming? If you have, drop it in the comments. With that being said, as always, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Nautical Narratives. I am your narrator, the one, the only, Mr. First Class. And remember, every unlikely prophet doesn't come dressed like one.